132. Trev's Hockey Show. I'm the Trev. Too sweet. Anyway, going back to defunct teams. This is more like a part 2 of the Quebec Bulldogs video that I did not too long ago, which you can check out here. So, without any further ado, let's talk about the Hamilton Tigers. So, the Tigers played in the NHL from 1920 to 1925. So thankfully, we have more than one season to talk about. Unlike my last 2 defunct team videos, this one actually has 5 seasons. So, yay! If you remember from the Bulldogs video, the NHL took back the Quebec franchise after the 1919-20 season and decided to sell it to, who they sell to? The Abso Pure Ice Company, based in Hamilton, Ontario. Now this, of course, was definitely not accidental as the placement of the franchise is concerned, because it was around the same time Eddie Livingston, you might have heard of him, the former owner of the NHA, had Hamilton in mind when he wanted to restart another league. So, knowing that, Frank Calder and everybody then decided, no you don't, and put the old Quebec franchise in Hamilton. You gotta remember too, this was the most Western team at the time in the league. They were still a 4-team league, and 3 of those teams are now based in Ontario. Instead of 2 Quebec, 2 Ontario. Now it's predominantly Ontario and 1 in Quebec, and Hamilton was the most Western of all 3 teams. So that was a good thing for them, right? Well, there's always the first season. First game in Hamilton Tiger history was played on December 22nd, 1920, against the Montreal Canadiens. No, the roster was mostly made up of everybody who was on the Bulldogs, with the exception of Joe Malone, who the Tigers were having some trouble re-signing and getting him to play with them, but they managed after not having him for 4 games. But to the point, Tigers did beat the Canadiens 5-0. The first time in NHL history a new franchise has won its debuting game in a shutout. Of course, the Canadiens in 1920 weren't exactly the Canadiens that we come to know now, much less through history. And that's probably the best news they had all year. Aside from getting Joe Malone to come play with them, Tigers finished the season with a total of 6 wins, 18 losses, and no ties. Good for last overall. Now, if you remember their 1 season in Quebec, they were last overall. So this is the 2nd year in a row they're last overall. Joe Malone led the team in scoring. Despite missing 4 games, scored 28 goals, 9 assists for 37 points in 20 games. It's a new year, new coach. Joe Malone became a player coach. Yes, they did that kind of thing back then. New uniforms, but unfortunately, same kind of result. Yes, I'm using the script. They managed to only improve by 1 win, finishing the 21-22 season 7 wins and 17 losses. So any improvement's improvement, right? But that got them as good as last overall for the 3rd year in a row. Malone again led the team in scoring, 24 goals and 7 assists for 31 points in 24 games. 22-23. Let's jump ahead, because this saw a bit of a change. First, a head coach. Art Ross replaces Joe Malone. Joe Malone gets traded to the Canadiens to finish out the last 2 seasons of his career. And initially, according to reports, Hamilton fans were outraged. But when they saw that he managed to just do nothing for the last 2 seasons of his career, they kind of felt justified. I think the last 2 seasons in 30 games, he only scored like 10 goals. Something like that. But Anyways, other than that, not much changed. Actually, in 24 games, they had an identical record to the 1920-21 season of 6 wins, 18 losses. So I guess with improvement, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's a common thing. It happens, especially in sports. Mickey Roach led the team in scoring with 17 goals and 10 assists in 24 games. 23-24 starts off relatively the same. New coach, new jerseys. They started the season with Percy Lasur at coach. But after 10 games and going 3 wins, 7 losses, they decided they weren't having that and turfed him right before the second half of the season began. They replaced him with Ken Randall, and that made a bit of a difference, actually. They finished under Randall the last 14 games with 6 wins and 8 losses, for a combined record of 9 wins and 15 losses. Good for last place, for the 4th and final time in Hamilton. 5th if you count their season in Quebec. Billy Burch led the team in scoring with 16 goals and 6 assists for 22 points in 24 games. Alas, all good things come to an end, right? 24-25 season. The last began as their first 4 began. New coach, replacing Ken Randall with Jimmy Gardner. Yes, goaltender, Hall of Famer, Jimmy Gardner. The league also added 2 new expansion teams for this season, with the inclusion of the Boston Bruins and the Montreal Maroons, who we will make a video of at some point. So their chances of finishing last, they should be better or not at all. Because, 2 new teams, they're going to suck, right? Right. They did the complete opposite. Instead of finishing last, they finished first in the league for the first time in their franchise history in the NHL. As Quebec, as Hamilton, first time ever. They finished first overall. With 19 wins, 10 losses, and 1 tie in 30 games. The NHL upped the amount of games they played. Instead of 24, they play 30 from this point on. It's doing better than Toronto by 1 point and doing better than Montreal by 3. So it was close. It was very close. Ottawa wasn't far behind. Red Green, not the same Red Green from the Red Green show, I can most assuredly guarantee. But Red Green led the team in scoring with 19 goals and 15 assists for 34 points in 30 games. And Billy Burch, you remember Billy Burch, led the team in scoring last season, was awarded the Hart Trophy, which made him MVP of the league. We'll talk about the Hart Trophy at some point too. I know I'm saying that a lot in this video, but I'm working on the scripts for everything I've said that we're going to talk about. But anyway, Billy Burch won the Hart Trophy with a 27-point season. But unfortunately, this is the part that you kind of scratch your head at, like, was that absolutely necessary? Unfortunately, instead of automatically having a chance at winning the Stanley Cup, you got to remember it was a two league cup at that point. Instead of basically punching their ticket, they'd have to play the winner of the semifinals between Montreal and Toronto for a chance at winning the Stanley Cup. The players demanded an extra $200. Remember what I was saying? The NHL changed their schedule from 24 to 30. There was no raises in the contracts for that. So the players felt, playing the extra 6 games, they should get paid for playing 6 extra games, and demanded $200 each, or else they were going on strike. After addressing Percy Thompson's the general manager, by the way. I don't know if I've mentioned that yet. After addressing Percy Thompson of this, they were informed that Their contracts were good from December 1st to March 30th, regardless of how many games are played, because that was your season structure then. Started December 30th or December 1st, went at latest March 30th, counting Stanley Cup finals and playoffs and all that stuff. So contracts were good regardless. Refused to pay them and passed the matter to the NHL. So you kind of got to know, when the league gets involved, you're going to have a bad time. And that's kind of what happened. So as a result of their attempted mutiny, as we'll call it, the Tigers' season was suspended. They weren't going to the playoffs at all. They were replaced by the 4th place Ottawa Senators. Ain't that a kick in the pants? While Toronto, St. Patrick's, because they were St. Patrick's before their Maple Leafs, St. Patrick's and the Canadiens played their 2-game semifinal. The winner goes to play Ottawa. The winner of that goes to play for the Stanley Cup. The players were fined $200 each. Same $200 they were asking for. They were just fined. And ultimately suspended the rest of the year. So their season, the Hamilton Tigers season, is over. It's done. And at a league meeting on September 22nd, 1925, the NHL decided to wash their hands of the Hamilton Tigers and their headache and everything that went around with it, and revoked the franchise. It's the first time the NHL said, get out of here. So just like that, the Tigers are officially done. The players, though, did find new homes, as a good chunk of them were bought by the expansion New York Americans, who we will talk about at some point. That's it for the Tigers. There's no continuation at this point. There's no part 3. The New York Americans are not part 3. The New York Americans are a different story. So in their 5 seasons in Hamilton, and after 126 games played, the club finished with 47 total wins, 78 losses, and 1 tie, having never made the playoffs. Never, not once. But it's not to say they didn't have good players. They did have Joe Malone. They had Billy Burch. They had Babe Dye. They had Red and Shorty Green. They had Alex McKinnon, as well as some good coaching, even if the only good coach or the good coaching material came out of Jimmy Gardner. You still had Art Ross getting his start. Remember that name. Because his contributions to hockey as a whole, not just as a head coach, but as a whole, deserve their own story. And we might get into that. The only trophy in club history was the Hart Trophy Burch won in 1925. So that's the story of the Hamilton Tigers. This is episode 132, Chess Hockey Show. I want to thank you for tuning in. Don't think I don't appreciate the gesture, especially if you're here. It means you've made it this far. And I'm thankful for that. I really am. The more you watch of my stuff, the more it helps. And I can't stress that enough. But if you did like this video, you know what that thumbs up button does. If you want, you know what that red button does. You know what I want. You know I want to get there before December 31st, 2021. Let's make that happen. On my socials, they're in the description down below. Moving forward for the next defunct team, going to Pittsburgh. No, not the Penguins. Not the Penguins. But there was a team in Pittsburgh before the Penguins, and we will talk about that for the next defunct team video. For the next hockey video, see what I got in the bag. Like I said, I've got a lot of scripts being written, done, ready to go. It's just a matter of getting them done at this point now. But either way, in the meantime, and in between time, be looking for more videos from the Trev. Later.